guys. Welcome aboard again for one more behind the scenes interview. I have the pleasure today to be talking with Jascivan Carvalho from Tropic. Is that correct?
Correct, Alice, but it's not our first meeting, so you should be calling me Jassi. You know that my friends call me Jassi. When it's Jascivan, I think I'm in trouble and I get a little bit nervous. So Jassi is
perfect. Perfect. So that's it. Since we are a friends community, that's more than appropriated. So Jassi, thank you so much for being here for this little chat. I won't call it interview because it's a chat. Behind the scenes, we have the opportunity to hear from each other, to hear our thoughts, to hear our common challenges, stories, and everything that we live and we share as values. So I'm gonna start asking you about Tropic. Tropic is a garden of the authentic South America. I like that tagline very much.
Yeah.
So more than appropriated to ask through the eyes of an expert, what is the authentic Latin America today for you?
Well, Alice, you know, Tropic was founded in 1994. So it's 25 years of this journey of trying to connect, you know, our friends and clients from around the world with a more authentic, you know, Ecuador and destinations in general. So really, we are not really guardians. We feel like we're more like a bridge, right? A bridge that facilitates for our clients to connect with the destination and the true guardians of the destinations, which are the communities that partner with us and enable for us to have been presenting, showcasing this beautiful country that Ecuador is, and now other countries that we'll be talking in a bit, I guess, that we decided to venture now after this horrible period of pandemic times. And luckily now it does feel like a post-pandemic period, and we are super excited about it. So yeah, it's been 25 years, everything we learned about connecting and facilitating and being guardians of the destinations. As you know, a year ago, more or less, we were talking about the Amazon rainforest and the Waorani people. Well, that's where I learned how to interpretate, you know, what happens on the ground. I think it's more of I tell my kids and my wife and my friends and family that the Waorani really taught me how to listen to people, right? And how to understand their needs and how to understand how they want to develop, in our case, their tourism destination. And with that perspective, facilitate and interpret it within our clients. So that's really what it is, right? Being a guardian, I think, is a big statement, but we definitely have dozens of guardians across the country that are sharing their stories, protecting their land, trying to keep their culture intact or at least alive, to happily share with our clients from around the world.
Nice, nice. So talking about communities, as you just said, and clients, and with the lot of experience that you guys already have, I would like to start asking something which is quite common at the community, which is the challenge of bringing together the simplicity and the sophistication. So you work with sophisticated clients, and as the philosophers would say, simplicity is the last degree of sophistication, right? So,
oh my God, yeah.
I'm not sure if this could be answered in one question, but how do you feel that you developed the experience of merging those two elements together?
Yeah, wow. Well, first of all, I wish I was that sophisticated. I still think that I'm still very complex to reach that level of Platon, but it does, you know, to us, the inspiration comes from the simple life that our local partners have. And that's really the inspiration that I get. You know, this is again, it's not really us, right? I think the other day I was on an interview similar like this, and I was talking to this wonderful lady from the UK, and she asked me, Jassi, what do you think is your superpower? And I was like, wow, that's I never had that question before, right? And I said, and I think it's really understanding people. You know, it was the first thing that came to my mind, and I do feel like when you're talking about a highly sophisticated, well-traveled client that usually visit us and have high expectations for their journey and their experiences in our destinations. And in the other hand, you have these communities, right, that they also have their expectations and their hopes for tourism. And we usually tend to protect either one or the other end, right? You know, you're trying to encapsulate the client, say, oh no, you don't want to get dirty, you don't want to talk to these people because, you know, it's too far away from your reality. And in the other hand, the community, sometimes we try to protect them by showcasing what is not really their lifestyle, you know, which is weird sometimes. And I think our perspective has been always to challenge both ends a little bit, right? You know, with the community, say, listen, this is your reality. You don't have to create something that is not your reality. And sometimes it is a little bit awkward for them. But we feel like, you know, what embarrasses you? Okay, is the wall that is not painted? Okay, let's paint it together, right? And let's fix it. It is the storytelling that you don't have it right. Are you a little bit shy? So let us help you to tell your story in a way that is not awkward for you. And in the other hand, for our clients, well, that's what we spend most of our time, you know, when we visit our travel partners, you know, tour operating companies, travel and experts and agents, you know, it's explaining them, listen, this is amazing, right? But you have to expect for your clients to be challenged. The usual boundaries that we try to create, right? So in one hand, we do love to partner with these beautiful properties, part of the community, you know, and very high end in any end, you know, it could be on the amenity, on the infrastructure, on the experience, but you know, they're all lovely, and we love to showcase them. But around it, we love for our clients to be able to challenge themselves a little bit and hike to this beautiful viewpoint that you can see the Sacred Valley, or you can swim to see that specific shark in the Galapagos, or you know, you can walk across indigenous markets and communities in the Ecuadorian Andes, right? So those are the simple things that we love about our destinations, and sometimes those things can be life-changing, right? If the time is right and the client is ready, you know, magic can happen, and that's what we expect to happen, right? But it depends on the players, right? We are, like I said before, we are facilitating the situation, but it's really up for the client to absorb it, take in, and make it theirs, because we cannot create that ourselves, right?
Nice. I guess Platon would have liked to participate on this live on the travel industry nowadays, right? I mean,
I think he will have a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's it. It's not easy, right? It's an experience gained, really, to merge those two elements. And talking about crafting experiences, I also want to hear your opinion on the new moment that we're living, right? We're getting off the pandemic finally, so we are on a different stage, or a very specific time frame for the travel industry. And one of the things that you guys claim at Tropic is finding contentment and recovering emotional balance by forming bonds with destination and the local people, right? Which I feel pretty much the spirit of everything that we're talking here. But how do you see that new moment? I mean, we are coming out of isolation, and do you believe the new trend is to get back to really deep connecting with the local communities, or do you feel people maybe will come back in a new behavior on, I don't know, maybe willing to be isolated in nature? How are you guys seeing that new moment in terms of crafting experiences?
Yeah, it's so weird, Alice, because you know, these statements that you're reading from our website or brochures, it's not something we wrote post-pandemic, or not even within the pandemic, right? This is a campaign of a few years ago. There was something like, you know, experience equilibrium, right? And it was all about balance, right? Because for us, as you know, sustainability is a big deal for us. It's part of our DNA, and sustainability for us is really a constant look for balance, right? So we said, okay, if we're promoting this concept for so many years, let's make a campaign for our clients to understand from their perspective, right? So for us, traveling, experiencing Ecuador or the destinations where we operate, or going off the beaten path, or engaging on an art class, or a chocolate tasting, or a weaving workshop, or a cooking class with an indigenous family, is an opportunity to unplug and reconnect with yourself and with someone else, and just be present, be in the moment, right? For me, I think that's the key element to get things going, right? So during the pandemic, 2020 was crazy. We were trying everything to keep the community engaged, as bringing messages of optimism, even though we had no idea what was going to happen, right? We were still week after week hopeful for the pandemic to end, and it never ended, for the whole year, 2020 I'm talking about. But we were still, trying to bring moments of happiness and sharing. I did some salsa classes with my 8-year-old son right here on this spot, and it was ridiculous. We couldn't do it at all. And but we were trying to be positive, and share and continue sharing, right? Because I believe that anyone in this business should be inspired about sharing their lives and their homes and their destinations and their work and lives. So we started talking about, from our own experience, right? We were living in our houses. We were, in lockdown, really struggling to be limited, especially people like me who are very used to be outside and exploring and traveling around the world. It was, a big deal, right? It was difficult, it was challenging, and it was depressing at some points because we're not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But obviously as a business, we were imagining, okay, what's going to happen when this ends, right? And so if I'm leaving this situation right now, the first thing that I would like to do is go to a lake or surf in the ocean, or meet my friends and go out and have a beer or whatever, right? So we felt like, my God, this is going to be amazing for destinations like ours, where we have so much open space and natural areas. Obviously, being in your home for such a long time, imagine a little apartment in a big city, on these world capitals. You'll be definitely desperate to get in nature and reconnect. So we say, like, wow, this is it for us, right? South America, this is playground for anyone who wants to disconnect and connect with people that are very different from the cultures from where our clients usually come from. And we have so much open space for people to to deal with this social distancing that we're not feeling so much right now, but in the beginning, these were all things that we were thinking, and we still feel like people are really looking forward to come to places like the Galapagos, the Amazon, the Andes, the desert, thinking about Atacama or the Patagonia. These are all ecosystems that are very remote, very isolated, that facilitate this vibe of spiritual as well as physical. And so yeah, and I told you earlier, a bit off the record, right? But now it's on the record. In the beginning, as you know, Ecuador, we were very lucky to start operating in late 2020, right? October, we as Tropic had our first groups. December was busy as hell. And then from December 2020, we never stopped operating again, right? Right now, luckily, 2 years later, we have more or less the volumes of 19, right? So things feel pretty normal. But the first travelers, Alice, it was so exciting to see these people arriving, with all of the challenges, testing 20 times and no vaccination in the beginning, so just taking the risk to come and have a trip of a lifetime. And they were all so excited about the challenge and participate on the experience, right? Not being served, but getting here, okay, what do we have to do in order to have fun, right? And it was amazing, having so much flexibility and and tolerance about being, having your temperature measured 20 times a day and your hands thrown alcohol like 50 times a day, and then all of the hassle plus the difficulties, right? Because a lot of hotels were closed or understaffed, and a lot of people tired and doing multitasking. It was a real challenge for our industry, and we have to accept it, even ourselves. I was telling you know, my colleagues at Tropic, you know, I'm going on a holiday in a week time for 2 weeks for the first time in 2 years. And I am telling everyone, I feel so tired after these 2 years that I really need to disconnect for these 2 full weeks. Please don't call me, right? Even if it's an emergency, you can deal with it, you know. And so back to your point, I feel like people should remain excited and humble about the fact that they are free again to be able to go out on their own will. They have the decision, they can make a decision, they can go out, and they should be aware that they should consider the fact that they weren't able to go out 2 years ago, and now they can go and they can have fun, and it's part of participate, you know, the fun, the beauty of the experience, and all of the things that we promote and develop with so much love needs the players to engage, to make it happen, right? The magic doesn't happen alone. You know, we facilitate it for it, but it depends on the players who are on the ground at the moment, right? And lately, and this is not a complaint to my friends and clients, right, that will see this, but this is, lately we're seeing some behaviors of people arriving with, you know, kind of the demands from the past, you know. Sometimes I feel like, well, did they forget that, you know, 2 years ago they weren't able to go out, and now they're complaining about, you know, a room that is not on the standard that they expected, and, you know, stuff that it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, you get a little bit upset. First of all, because you feel like you're letting the client down. But on the other hand, you know that there is not a lot you can do if they decided to book that specific place and property and room, right? So I feel like people should remind themselves, and we should try and remind themselves how lucky they are, how lucky we are to be able to be living this moment, right? Especially, and this is very sad to me, you know, what's happening in Ukraine, you know, especially when you see people having to abandon their homes and their lives and their country, and it is not their will, right? They need to do it, right? They're running away for their lives and for the lives of their children and their families, and industry, right? And people should celebrate the fact that they can go and have fun somewhere else, and they are so welcome by people like, you know, Ecuadorians, Peruvians, Chileans, Brazilians, Argentinians, you know, everybody in South America. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and that's something we should remind ourselves and our clients each time we can, in the most possible, in the most sensible and in the most respectful way and fashion. But that's something we have to keep in mind, right? And I love this say. You were joking about Brazilian says, and that I don't know them anymore so much, but I love says from all over, and I try to remind myself. And there is one in Spanish that says, "El pueblo no tiene memoria," right? And that is a fact, right? We forget about things very quickly, and but this period and what's happening right now, we should not forget that quickly, right? I think it's a special moment, and we should be grateful that the pandemic, it's, from my perspective, pretty much over, right? There is a new normal for sure, you know, the masks and some sense of care and biosecurity, but that's nothing compared to a year ago, and definitely nothing compared to 2 years ago. So I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting times. I'm very excited, Alice. You can tell.
Yes,
but I'm
yes,
also, yeah. But you know, people like me, we spend a lot of time thinking, right? And it's good to have this opportunity to share.
Not only thinking, but doing, right? I guess this is the most valuable things here, to the valuable experience to be shared. I guess this is pretty much what we're here for, right? Being stronger together. So basically,
yeah, we're
I guess this is
happy to share.
This is a very powerful message here in terms of actively contributing to the greater good, right? So this is a message, a broad message for the new traveler, let's put it that way, right? So that was a nice invitation, and I'm sure this is a shared sense on remote community. So nicely said.
Let's do that.
Let's do that
together.
Exactly. Let's spread that sense of traveling, right? Of really valuing the present moment. I absolutely agree with that. And also I want to ask a bit further on valuing the moment and connecting, right? So this is pretty much what we do as artists, right? As crafting experiences. And Tropic has a lot of experiences on sustainability projects, right? So this is a fact. Awards from National Geographic on your curriculum, Travel and Sustainability Award. So lots of stories to be told. But I guess a powerful thing to be shared here with the community is what will be, in a nutshell, what will be your main tips on anyone willing to create a sustainable project on the long term, right? Because what we see, obviously, a lot of initiatives spreading with the local communities and even obviously on sustainable practices, but you have lots of stories to share. So if you could pick one, or at least a collection of tips regarding your project with water and indigenous tribes in Amazon, how to really, or what to pay attention from the beginning to make a sustainable project and the long term sustainable.
Yeah. Oh my God, Alice. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you so much.
This is the $1 million question, right?
Yeah, it is. It's an expensive one, but well, first of all, thank you so much for acknowledge the fact that Tropic has been a pioneer in developing sustainable tourism initiatives and community-based initiatives and etc. I think we've been blessed and we've been lucky, even though you say that luck is a result of hard work, right? And yeah, indeed we have had a lot of work. But I also love to think that a Brazilian friend of mine who lived with me in London on a different life, many years in the past, always told me, Jassi, you have a big star over you, so you should be careful with that and you should take care of it and make the most of it. And we've been doing, right? We've been taking advantage of every single opportunity to engage in something that makes sense, right? But I think the first tip is, Alice, it doesn't work if you are trying to develop something for the benefit of your business, right? If it's something like more triggered towards your marketing plan or stuff like that, I think it's probably easier just to go and get your company certified with some sustainable label, and then you'll be doing things right, and I think your clients will celebrate it. But when it's about engaging with local communities, you have to be invited, right? That's the first thing, right? You're not invited. You have to be invited, and you have to understand if you're really being invited, right? Sometimes you're invited because people are polite, but then when you go a little bit further, you might not be that invited anymore, right? So I think that that's a long process, right? To understand if the invitation is to be part of the community, to support the community at a certain level, or whatever it is, right? So I think that's a very important question to ask, and probably is best to ask at once, right? What do you expect from me, right? What are you expecting from me, from my company, from us, and are you going to really let me in, right? And I guess my other tip in the other end of the story is being brave enough to know when it's time to leave, right? Because these stories, they have a beginning and they have an end, right? And sometimes your impact gets to a point where you cannot do a lot more, and then it is the community's choice to go further and develop their own path, right? So we cannot control those stories, right? And that will be two difficult ones, but I think those were things that have happened to me, as you know, from the previous story that I shared. Sometimes the end it can be heartbreaking, but if you take the positive, then we'll be fine, because it's part of your legacy, and you know that you did everything that you could to make it a success, right? I think going down to more practical stuff, I guess it's understanding where you're at, right? Sometimes for us, we have multiple projects now going on, bigger, smaller, in joint ventures of ourselves. And usually it's about where you're at, right? The ecosystem that you're at. Sometimes it's about the community and the culture. Sometimes it's about conservation of an area. Now, when for example, our lodge Chilcabamba in the high Andes of Cotopaxi, we don't really have a community around us, even though the lodge only employs local people, etc. our concern about that area specifically is the conservation of water. And I think we spoke a little bit about that on our last conversation. To me, the Amazon, even though a lot of people think, oh, Amazon biodiversity and the forest, to me, the Amazon is about the local communities. And we shared recently, and it'll be great for you guys to take a look, a recent newsletter about this major victory of the indigenous communities in the Amazon that now should be really part of the consultation process of oil companies and mining or any extractive industry going. And that's a major victory that in the past, they couldn't do it, right? The government would allow the companies to be granted rights to exploit that land. And then the company would go and negotiate with the community. Imagine the disparity of an oil company negotiating with a remote indigenous community in the Amazon rainforest. It doesn't make any sense. So now the community is part of that process of granting the right. So that's a big deal. And I was lucky enough to be working with this community last year as part of our kind of, it's not really pro bono, but we were invited by an international NGO to be part of that process of looking into alternatives towards mining. That community specifically didn't want mining in their land. And they say, we want ecotourism. So I was invited to go and talk about ecotourism and what it takes to be part of that, of this community, right? And that was super fun, right? And we were kind of invited, but not necessarily invited. So we're still contemplating if we're going to develop it or not, because it's a complicated project. So you see those, sometimes it can take years for you to start doing something. So we are not desperate. We cannot force ourselves in. We have to wait for our time. And things that start happening at different levels, in different areas. We just started a second venture in Peru, for example, right now that we'll tell you in a bit. And in Ecuador, we have so many small and big ones. We're doing something in urban areas in Quito, right? We are working together with artists, right? And for us, that's also about sustainability, because we're celebrating something that is beautiful and that is from us to the world, and is the life and the passion of someone who has developed a certain skill, So I think it's really finding something interesting, being invited, and when you're invited, making the most of it, right? And giving everything you can to cause a positive impact, and not something that could be, just business, and then usually those relationships end very quickly.
Amazing. So basically, it has to be truthful. That's pretty much the tip. And Jassi, taking everything that we are talking here in a nutshell, really, because we could talk hours and hours on so many projects, and at the end, life experience is the best teacher, right? So you have lots of experience. Tropic has lots of experiences, different times, different projects. Oh my God, you guys are so multitasking, and that's so lovely to talk about. But you gave a lot of spoilers here, so you already gave spoilers on something that I want to bring to the community firsthand as a breaking news, which is basically now not only carry so much projects, multiple projects. Now your guys are expanding your operation beyond Ecuador, right? So, ta-da! Breaking news!
Ta-da! Wow! You gave me a spoiler.
Exactly.
It does. It still feels exciting. It does feel like, wow.
Exactly. That's quite fresh news, and I really want you to share with the community. I mean, why did you guys decided for that initiative to expand territories? And especially, how is the Tropic way of doing things going to operate on those different destinations?
That's cool. That's a great question to start with, the why, right? Because some people might think, oh, greedy, right? They just want to grow, which is true. We do want to grow, but it doesn't. That was not the beginning of our mindset. It was in the middle of the pandemic, and we started seeing Ecuador recovering and other countries not recovering. Chile right now is still open, but not really open, because it's still a challenge to go into that country. So we felt like, wow, if our clients are so excited about the stuff that we're doing, why don't we start sharing or learning from the destinations, like, for example, like Peru or Chile, that definitely expanded, and we are already operating there. But the mindset was, let's bring our model into those countries. Let's engage with the local communities. To me, the thing that I was most concerned about during the pandemic is, our governments, our countries, our budgets, the economy of our countries are destroyed right after this period. Even though we might not feel yet, I think we will end up feeling it at some point. And I say, wow, our countries, our governments will have so many macro level problems. It's gonna take a lot of time to go back into the rural areas and see what's happening with the communities. And it's not like we're saving anyone, right? I don't have that view of our role, but definitely I see that we can cause an impact immediately, right? Because tourism is like that. It's amazing, right? The moment the group goes there or have an experience there, the money stays there right at that moment, right? And that's positive impact into the economy, apart from all of the other stuff that we'll be talking about. So I say, well, let's do that, right? Even though we have wonderful partners and colleagues and competitors in those countries, we say like, well, but not a lot of people see tourism like we do. Not a lot of people develop a destination the way we do, right? So I think that's the other part of your question, how, right? And the how to me is, to us actually, is, first of all, it's not about countries, Ecuador, Peru, it's not really this multi-country type of deal. It's more of a ecosystem type of deal, right? Ecuador, we have here the Galapagos, we have the cloud forest, we're very lucky, right? Because we have it all in a very small piece of land, but the Andes of Peru and the cultures of Peru, from the pre-Inca to the Inca journey, and then the living culture that my colleagues in Peru have been teaching me, it's mind-blowing, Alice. It is something that, I've been reading so much about the Incas, and I was lucky enough to be in Machu Picchu on the summer solstice, December 21st last year. And it was a magical moment for me being there. And it felt like destiny, right? Because I didn't plan it. It just happened, and that I was there.
Nothing
with nobody
is
around me.
Yeah,
I know, it's crazy. But, and then Patagonia, right? We've been working in Patagonia, and it's still happening because that's a lot more complex, is far crazy remote, right? And that's and long distances. So we're still trying to figure how to operate there, and especially develop the local relationships, right? So during 2020, we noticed that we could do something different in these countries. First half of 2021, we started working in Peru with the communities. We have some amazing experiences. Our famous may introduce you, which is the experiences with different characters, and you have to go with us there to experience it. And we have actually a fam trip scheduled there. So let me know if you want to come, and be happy to have you on this special. And the idea is that, right, the bridging, the connecting, right, with the past, the present of these destinations, this ecosystem. We're very focused on the Sacred Valley, right? That's kind of where we are operating. Our office, our operations are there. So we're very focused there. And little by little, obviously Lima, right? But little by little, we're going to expand into the other regions. But our focus is really the Andes, right? And in Chile, like I said, is a work. We already have a few trips sold, but we are still developing the specific ecosystem, Patagonia, that I'm very focused on, and that's where I want to have our operation. For us is not only telling that you're hands-on, but being hands-on means being on the ground, right? So we have local experts on the ground facilitating these experience to like the magic, right? Facilitating for the magic to happen when our clients get there. So that's kind of the process, not only in our minds, but actually on the ground, because that's happening now in Peru. We're in full-on operations now, and with sales, and thanks to our clients that are supporting us. And there are lots more that are invited to join us. We rebranded.
Just the beginning, right? That's just the beginning.
Just the beginning. As you can see, Alice, I brought my new Tropic t-shirt with our new beautiful logo, with this whole idea of the O, right, being a fire pit where all of these nomadic cultures get together to share stories. So that's the whole thing. So that's kind of what's behind. So we put a lot of thinking into these decisions that we make. because that's, the beautiful part of the process. It's not only about, selling, and talking about a product or a program or a trip, it's more of a philosophical thing that starts happening. And I think that gives a lot of more drive to everyone involved, when it makes sense. And I love those processes as well, personally, right? That's the part that I enjoyed the most about the business. And and the biggest thing today announced in our newsletter is a joint venture a la Tropic. And that brought me back to the 90s, Alice, because we, as you know, the 90s, we worked with the Waorani people in the Amazon rainforest. And we just started this today representing exclusively an operation in the Alsangate called Andean Lodges, right? And that's another beautiful thing, 2 communities with 2 remote lodges, high in the Andes. Obviously, they're very different from the Waorani in terms of, but very similar in terms of the will to create an alternative economy that is more sustainable to their reality, to what's happening around their territories, and the development of the Andes of Peru, and the will to remain in their communities, but do something with it and share with people from around the world. And those are the things that I personally love. As you know, I have a little lodge here close by in Cotopaxi. So the Andes now is also one of my passions, along with the Amazon and islands and beaches and cloud forests. But it's something that I enjoy very much nowadays. Just walking in the mountains and having those spaces to think and enjoy the views and the landscapes. And sometimes bumping into local people, and having a chat and having a laugh. And that's really what we're very excited about. So that's a big deal for us, because it's a big project. It's a complex one. It's off the beaten path. It doesn't go to Machu Picchu. It's a different area of Peru, but it's definitely a life-changing hike with dramatic views, and something that I'm very excited about. So taking advantage of your space to make my little promo here, Alice. I'm so sorry.
No, not at all. I mean, that's amazing news, actually. And I think it's not a promo, because at the end, as a community, and as we like to say, we are stronger together, also by spreading our values. So I guess this is pretty much a natural way for Tropic to go, because once you have a solid story to tell and lots of examples and learnings, which is most important, I guess it's about spreading the good practices, right? And making the ecosystem grow, because as you said, it's not about the destinations. And this is one of the reasons why remote community exists, actually, to develop the whole ecosystem, shared mindsets, cool. shared values, and obviously by being together and developing our ecosystem best, right? I mean, we are passionate about Latin America, so this is something that we strongly share. And as you said, there's so many opportunities. I mean, we have really an amazing backyard for people to come and have fun. And I guess the more we stick to our values and best practices and the respect for nature and everything that you share, I mean, it is true. Win-win, right? And that's amazing to everyone to hear. And thank you so much. I mean, on behalf of the Remote, to be sharing so openly all your tips and secrets. Is always a pleasure to talk to you. I mean, as I said, we could stay here for hours. And sure. And I'm gonna leave also after this interview back your seeds talk, which was amazing. I mean, if people want to hear a bit more in depth on your social projects, I mean, this is pretty much what we're here for, right? To share the good practices.
Of course, Alice. Yeah, and
so
yeah, thank you. And I don't want to end without saying that this wouldn't be possible with the team, right? It's, we have these it's a dream team, like I say, and I tell them every day, every single morning, especially now that we are in home office. It's really, I couldn't do any of these without the real local experts, here in Quito, in the Galapagos, in Cusco, in Lima, in Santiago now, the folks that are helping us out in Patagonia. This is not really Jassi pretending to be in all of these places and knowing all of these places and having all of the connections. This is about, as you say, a community, a network of professionals young professionals, hard-working professionals that been giving, a lot, especially in this period, right? And I guess it's like for you and for everybody in remote, we do have to remind ourselves as leaders, right, that the people that helped us being here today, they are really the biggest asset we have, right? And I couldn't stop this conversation by highlighting the fact that this is really not me, it's about a bunch of people that have my back.
Absolutely. At the end, is the power of the network, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Alice, thank you so very much. This is wonderful talking to you and the opportunity to be here and sharing. And obviously, if anyone need an extra tip, I don't know if we don't have a lot of tips that will resolve any problem, but I can definitely give a lot of tips on how not to do things, because we make our mistakes along the way. But this is it, right? We have to learn by doing things and walking the talk and making things happen. And it works, trust me, it works. I wouldn't be here so smiley today if it didn't. So yeah, I'm here to help and be part and be present and be as proactive as I can for everybody. Okay.
Amazing. Stronger together, Jassi. Thank you so much. And
all right.
Talk to you soon on your next projects and the destinations. There's a lot to be discovered on the following months.
Cheers.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Alice. Gracias.
Gracias.
Muito obrigado.